January that we just passed, I've been able to train professionals across 16 countries through different initiatives. I normally hold webinars, but the biggest was the Global LinkedIn Bootcamp, which I officially closed in January. That was my biggest training because I've been able to tap into 16 countries, as I said, but mostly I really got to work with international clients. I actually have right now more international clients than local clients. And that's because I believe I'm a global brand. I just don't need to play small or actually just play local just to be able to find opportunities. I can actually find opportunities globally. So it all started with a decision to stop waiting for permission and start walking in purpose. For me, how I found my purpose, it came as an itch. Like, I just had that itch. Whenever I would see people making posts, I will now just start seeing mistakes. It started from Instagram, then goes to LinkedIn. So I would just find ways of how to correct that person. Not DMing them, but I'll just see mistakes, and I just want to make them better. And that is how I found my calling when it comes to social media management. And I've been able now to get business. And that's the woman standing before you today. And I came here to remind you that boldness is not just a trait. It's not something that you can just have it immediately. No, it's a choice. It's a strategy because I've used it as a strategy. I'm still using it. And finally, a responsibility because how you will carry yourself, you will carry yourself with so much excellence. You'll, not perfection, but you'll just want to excel in everything that you do. And that is purpose for me and just walking in my purpose. So what does it mean to be young and bold in career and purpose? It means to refuse to live on autopilot. Literally, like just getting out of your comfort zone. At the end of every month for me, I get to look at my stats, literally like in terms of my digits, my numbers on social media, but also in terms of also my finances, my growth in life, right? I want to get out of my comfort zone. That's living bold for me. That I want to set the bar high. And I've honestly set the bar high in my industry. And it also means just choosing purpose over comfort. As I said, I always look forward to just moving out of my comfort zone. What has my industry not yet innovated? What has my industry not yet created? Like, I love that he has mentioned the campaign that I'm running. It's called Dominate LinkedIn Mission. It's going to be for 75 days. It's a free mission, and it came to my heart while I was praying. I was praying to God, like, I want to impact really well as I get to celebrate my 25th birthday this coming August. And I want to impact in a great way, not really big, but just in a great way that I can be able to touch so many lives with my expertise. And the idea came to mind. And so I have actually implemented it. So it also means building a life that aligns with who you are as a person, your values, your personality, your character. That's what it means. And not just one. It's not living a life that just pays for Wi-Fi or, maybe the latest iPhone. No, it's living a life also for the future. I like that we had a question, how many of you want to get married or even marry? Like, you're also thinking long term. What would you like your future to hold? Right? And how would you like to live boldly in order for that future to come to pass? This January, I entered a program. I love taking programs online, and especially by guys from abroad, because it really opens my mind. So there's this lady by the name Becky Stewart from Australia. I believe I've gotten her name right. And I was actually having a conversation with my therapist in December, and she was really intrigued, and she also even joined the program. The program was basically to align your ear, which we actually did in an amazing way, but also learning how to journal and manifesting whatever you'd like, right? And so I really liked the journaling part, and I would like to share with you what I learned. Every morning, I get to wake up, definitely after I do my devotion. I usually just get 30 minutes of my own time sitting down with my notebook and I journal. And I ask myself some pretty good questions. Question 1 is, what does future Muthoni want present Muthoni to do today? What does future Muthoni want present Muthoni to do today? That simply means, what will it take for me to reach my goal, my dream, my long-term goal, just today? Question 2, what does success look like today for me? It can be to just complete my to-do list. It can be to make sure that I have a speaking engagement tomorrow, so I have to go to the salon to get my hair done and get back. I have a webinar I need to prepare for. I have a training. I have clients. Whichever it looks like for you, even if you're employed, what does success look like to you? And final question I get to ask myself, what is the 1% improvement I can do today? Or rather, how can I improve just 1% from yesterday? Because we make mistakes every day, but we normally don't go back and actually get to see what we actually did wrong, right? That is one. And also, you definitely know once you completed your day, I should have done this better. Or, oh my goodness, I wasted time scrolling on my phone, and like I should have been doing something else. So in the morning, I now tell myself that is the 1% improvement, that I should not scroll for 2 hours, I should scroll for just 1 hour, even if I'm taking a break. 15 minutes, 10 minutes, what does 1% improvement look like? And also, let's be honest, our generation really has pressure, right? And I believe like every young person, once you get to be young, you will live under pressure. We are expected to have it all figured out by 25. This is just some of the life pressure that we have. Own a home by 30. And when I think about it, I'm like, with this economy. And, stay productive, all of it. But the thing is, always stay grounded. And for me, living boldly, living in my purpose, also means getting my mental health right. Getting to journal, getting my emotions intact. Getting to understand how can I improve from yesterday, from last week. Now, another hack that I was taught still in this program in January, I have a jar, I call it the gratitude jar. And this jar basically has sticky notes whereby I get to write what I'm grateful for every single day. Literally at the end of the day. I literally have a ritual. I have a morning routine and I have an evening routine. Very simple, nothing extravagant. Just to make sure, for me this year, it's all about getting my mental health right, getting also to see how I can improve myself, personal development, career growth. Okay, I've had quite the career growth, but now I want to focus on personal development so that it can align with my career. So this gratitude jar, it's a hack we were taught. And as I said, you take a sticky note and just write down what you're grateful for from that day. Then beginning of the week, write down what you'd like to achieve that week. So basically, how does success look like for you in that week? It can even be just to make sure you get to reach out to 2 connections on LinkedIn. Get to even just make a few posts online. Go to a networking event. Attend such an event. What does success look like for you during that week? Then at the end of that week, that sticky note that you wrote, what success looks like, literally take it out and read it. And be accountable. Have you actually succeeded? It doesn't have to be a list of 5 things. For me, I actually write just 2 to 3. And that's it. 2 to 3. Okay? And I came also here to tell you that life is not a race. It's a calling.
Young people, I've heard you have something to say.
is a platform. Every skill, every role, every opportunity, every connection you make, it's a stepping stone to influence, to level up. If there's something that I really value is relationships, because I believe relationships are a currency. The relationship that I have with my network, because I've been able to see immense growth in my career. Bold number 2, personal branding is visibility that works for you, not against you. This simply means that your brand should speak for you even before you enter a room. We all know Jeff Bezos' famous quote, right? Your personal brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. So the rooms that you haven't entered yet, what is your brand saying about you? That when your name comes up, how would you like to be remembered? Or even how would you like to be talked about? Bold number 3. Being visible means value on display. Value on display. And I know all of us here, we are all on social media. But are you actually positioning yourself for purpose? Because there's just posting online, but there's also positioning for purpose. I have positioned myself for purpose because I know what I'm doing online. I know what I'm building. But do you know? And visibility here, we also say it's a strategy to accelerate your career, a strategy to actually level up. And I have literally worked with multi-generations, and that means we have Gen X. Millennials are quite acquainted with online social media. But Gen X and baby boomers, most of them, when I work with them, they're like, Muthoni, I wish we had this during our time. Because they've literally seen people accelerate their careers. That they used to accelerate themselves 5 years. It will take them 5 years, but they see someone taking it just 1 year, 2 years, because of the power of social media. So how are you using your social media platform? This tool here is very powerful. Even your laptop. How you use it will determine how your future looks like. So use it wisely. And even as you post on social media, post as you're positioning yourself for your next opportunity. Final bold number 4. It's an equation. Consistency plus intentionality equals results. Consistency plus intentionality equals results. And I've seen this play in my life so many times, and it's still playing. Because it simply means results don't respond to wishes. They respond to patterns. So what kind of patterns are you creating right now? In terms of your habits, in terms of your intentionality, in terms of consistency. How many of us here have heard of a challenge called the 75 Hard Challenge by Andy Frisella? Raise your hand boldly. We are learning how to be bold. Who else? I'm seeing one hand. Any other or two? Go and Google about that challenge. It's a very interesting one. Let me tell you, I tried it. Hata sikufika day 5. It's a tough one because you have one of the things that I didn't make it till actually day 10. It's because you have to do 2 45-minute workouts. That is morning in the gym, then in the evening it should be outdoor. So it can be a walk, whichever. 2 45-minute workouts. You need to be on a strict diet, no alcohol. That doesn't apply to me because I don't drink alcohol. But there was also no cheat food. That's now junk food. You have to literally forget about it. The rest were okay. For me, it was just that 2 45-minute workout. My body just couldn't take it anymore. And one thing I got to learn about that challenge, and also listening to that podcast, because he has a podcast and even a book. So I was listening to that podcast, and this guy has really transformed a lot of lives globally through that challenge. Because so many people who are perhaps obese were able to lose weight, just change their lives, become better. And one thing he really pushes it instantly. I was so engrossed when it comes to my career growth. Instantly. I was so engrossed when it comes to my career growth. And so winning was just quite simple for me. And that's because it became a pattern. But I'm also here to tell you there were days I wanted to quit. There were days I wanted to quit. Days I doubted my own voice. Imposter syndrome will kick in. But when it kicks in, for me, I run to God. I run to God and I pray about it. And He reminds me who I am and what He has placed in my hands. Days I also felt like I was building in the dark, like literally nothing is happening. I'm not seeing results. Things are quiet. But that only means great days are ahead. But I kept showing up. I kept learning. Every day is a learning day for me. I kept growing. And today I'm standing here not as someone who figured it all out. No, I still haven't figured it out. And I liked the question that was asked to me as I began here. It's because I am someone who refuses to sit it all out. What that simply means is when that creativity kicks in, I will act on it. So I now live on a mantra: act fast, refine later. An idea comes to mind, I will act on it. Refinement comes. And I always just run to God to pray about it. And honestly, some of my posts which have done incredibly well, I now have over 70 posts with over 20,000 impressions. That is over 20,000 views on LinkedIn. Honestly, 90% of those posts came to mind just because of praying, just because of literally whispering a prayer to God. God, what should I write? What post can I make to inspire someone, to transform a life? It's not selfish. I always think of my audience. What can they gain? And I also think of God. What does God want me to tell my people, to tell my audience? That has been my anchor. Was I confused when I began? Oh, yes, I was. Did I cry in the shower, then post a motivational quote later? Also, yes. There are days that literally I feel like quitting, but I'm not. And that's because I just had that drive and God speaking to me. I kept going because deep down, I knew consistency hits different when purpose is involved. I'll repeat, consistency hits different when purpose is involved. You can't give up. You honestly can't. And so every time I felt lost, I reminded myself, growth isn't always loud. It's not always loud. Just as I shared those prompts that I journal with, how can I be 1% better than I was yesterday? How does success look like for me today? Not in 3 months, not in 1 year. I'm not writing my resolutions or I'm not writing my goals. No, I'm being practical and very realistic. So to the young professionals here, don't just build a career, build also credibility. And one thing I like about credibility in today's modern world, it's no longer about having certificates, licenses. It's about referrals, recommendations. What can someone else say about you? That actually will speak volumes. As they say, who do you know and who knows you? That's also part of credibility. Network, get to build relationships. You will see your career accelerate in immense way until you go to God and you're like, hey, it's like this. Okay, interesting. I have seen the power of networking and building relationships. And also don't just post online. As I said, position with purpose. Why are you making that post? Every post that I make, I have a reason why I'm making it. So let me leave you, And something else, this generation needs more clarity. It honestly needs more clarity. And by that I mean, it needs more young people who are bold enough to be different and disciplined enough to make a difference. Those are two things. Bold enough to be different and disciplined enough to make a difference. So how can you make a difference even in your career? Even with what you currently have on your hands, your skills, your talent, make a difference as you're being bold. So now let me leave you with 3 action steps. Step 1, define your values. Values are really important. What are your values? Because when you're clear on what you stand for, you won't settle for what you've outgrown. This goes to your career, this goes to your relationships, dating, literally every part of your life. When you're clear on what you stand for, you will not settle for what you've outgrown. Step 2, tell your story. Your story is different from my story, and that's what makes you powerful. It's not your certificates, it's your story. So what is your story? And here I'm saying, because your scars speak louder than silence, and someone is waiting to heal through your honesty. So that's, you know that story that you overcame something, be it an addiction, whatever it is, being fired, redundancy, whatever it is, that story that you overcame, you may be inspiring someone that day who is actually going through it right now. I have seen it come into play. And step 3, invest in your personal brand. Because rooms you've never entered are already being prepared by God. And how you position yourself today determines who opens that door for you tomorrow. And on this note, keep praying. Keep praying that you may meet someone who will open your next door, who will open that next opportunity for you. Because sometimes it's not mere numbers. It's people, connections. So pray about it. So to everyone in this room, as I close, the world is not waiting for you to be perfect. It's waiting for you to be present. Be present in your career. Be present in your life. Be present online by positioning yourself with purpose. Because you need to show up boldly, build intentionally, and live audaciously as you all make a difference. As I said, your story is your power. And your purpose has an impact. Thank you.
We're all young people here. Let's give her a better round of applause, please. A better round of applause, please. Miss Mudoni, thank you. Thank you so, so much. I mean, I have attended very many conferences, and it's almost like you want the speaker to keep going on and on. But what I would urge you is those little practical steps are what will make a difference when we meet the next time. Do we have anyone with a pressing question? I want to take one question just before we invite our next speaker on stage. Any question, any comment? Come on, guys. As you think about it, I want to recognize the presence of our 2 speakers who are here with us. Mr. Wahiga Maura, thank you so much. Eugene Okanda is here with us. Do we have any questions? Are we okay? Oh, great. There's a question there.
It's not a question. Good evening. My name is Joel Mabonga. I just want to comment on our first speaker. I think I've got, for the time that you have spent there, the little time that you have spent there, it has really encouraged, especially me personally. So I just want to, if at all you'll get another time, at least I will request the team at least to avail her, at least to give her enough time, because it's something good that we can get out of it as the young professional. So thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. May God bless you with that wonderful encouragement that you have shared with us.
Thank you so much. I believe we will have a couple of minutes at the very end if you would like to ask personal questions. Right now, I want to introduce a great gentleman, a gentleman I look up to in the industry of journalism, a gentleman whose name is synonymous in excellence. He has represented this country within our borders and beyond, and we can only be proud. A man who stands in integrity and says his story as it is and draws inspiration. Ladies and gentlemen, let us be on our feet as Mr. Wahiga Mwaura comes to the stage.
God is good. And all the time. Amen. I know you've been here for some time. Let me allow you to take your seats, even as we get into the next part of the program. Madam MC, thank you. Wow. You know, I was looking at you thinking, okay, is that me? Usually I'm the one seated behind there, so now I know how guest speakers feel. That's the pressure you feel, Eugene, when you're being introduced. I really felt it. But I thank God for the opportunity to be here. Let me introduce myself once again. My name is Wahiga Mwaura. It is a pleasure to be here. I don't just stand here alone. I stand here representing my wife, Joyce Omondi Wahiga. Simumpigie makofi tafadhali hata kama hajafika. She could not be here today, but she's actually been a speaker at a previous forum that Eugene had. So I think Eugene should put us on his team, his staffing team, because we have become regulars. But because we want to identify with excellence, and Eugene is walking in excellence as a young and bold achiever. Let's clap for Eugene because he has done some amazing things, which I'll be talking about. I'm also part of a mentorship network with Eugene, a men's mentorship network, and another young man called Pastor David Wafula. He told me he's somewhere in the building. If he can wave his hands, there he is. I can see him. Let's clap for that gentleman. Sometimes as speakers, when you acknowledge people in the room, the nervousness goes away. So you understand what we are doing. My journey with Eugene, before I quickly give you 10 points that I have, and then I get off because Muthoni Njoroge did a fantastic job. I was taking notes. I usually like to go early to an event where I'm speaking so that I can pick some notes from the one before and that sort of thing. There was too much content there, and it was wonderful what she was sharing. But I remember meeting Eugene many years ago at KU, then as I believe you were third year, fourth year, at a conference that he had organized. And he followed me to, as I was exiting, and he told me, we need to connect, I need to invite you for something else. And we exchanged notes, and we've been friends ever since. And it was just fantastic last year, by the grace of God. My office, I'm a journalist. I worked for many years at Citizen, and then now I work for the BBC. And my office had sent me to New York for the UN General Assembly. And when I check social media, I see pictures of New York on Eugene's page. And I messaged Eugene, is that New York? Are you at a photo shoot somewhere, or are you actually in New York? And he told me, I'm here. And I said, we need to catch up. And so from KU, where we first met, we met at Times Square last year. It was a fantastic moment with a friend of his who's doing an amazing job. And we broke bread together, we caught up, and we just thanked God for what he had done. I don't know where I'll meet you next, Eugene. Tell me your calendar. Maybe God will make a way. I stand here today. You know, the previous speaker was talking about 24, 25 years. I'm trying to remember when I was last 24. Pastor Wafula, do you remember your 24s? I don't remember mine. Time moves very fast. So for you who are young and bold, you need to move quickly, because you'll be amazed how I think time moves very slowly when you're trying to turn 18. But once you hit 18 and once you hit 30, that is the end. Last year, by the grace of God, I turned 40. Now I can justify the white hairs on my head. And it was really a time of great reflection. And I began asking myself, if I could go back in time to my 20s, what lessons would I share with my younger self? What would I tell them to give them pressure on one hand, but also to punguza pressure on the other? Because it's a two-way street where there are many things you need not be worrying about. They will come in time, and God will open those doors. But also there are many things you need to work on for yourself. Because when you're young is when you have the opportunities, when you have the ability, when you have the time, and hopefully the resources. And even if you don't have the resources, if you work well over time, you can catch up. And so time is of the essence. And so yesterday or recently, as Eugene asked me to come and speak on Young and Bold and some lessons on life, purpose, and impact, I began to ask myself, if I could go back to my 20-year-old self, what are 10 things I would tell them that would hopefully help them be a better version of themselves? And I asked myself, what were things I thought I knew when I was 20 that many years on have proven to be false or untrue in my life and in the lives of others, so that I can share with others? I don't know what the general, let me see here. Okay, let's do a little activity here. How many here are under 20? By a show of hands. Just get a census of in the room. Anyone under 20? Okay, this one people might be shy, eh? I realize. Under 25s, muko wapi? Under 25s, under 25s. Under 25s, okay. Under 30, under 30, under 30, okay. Okay, a big, okay, now I'm going to get a sense. Under 35, under 35, okay. Okay, let me switch this. Over 35. Over 35, Mukwapi. Over 35, okay, good. So I'm speaking to the right room here. So 10 lessons, very quickly. I know we have some amazing sessions lined up after this, so I'll be very quick. Lesson one, I always thought that bold, purposeful people, successful people, had life figured out from the beginning. I remember when I was young, I would look at the people that were making waves out there. And I remember back in the day, was it in 2007, 2008, roundabout there? I remember that time Churchill had just started his show, maybe 2 years earlier, on Nation. And he was the talk of town. I mean, the man has done so much for the comedy industry. And I remember thinking to myself, people like him and many of the journalists I admired and many of the people that I thought had made it in life, I thought life had been smooth for them from the beginning. And I remember I was chasing my purpose. I've never actually met him to tell him this. And I was chasing my purpose. Things were not working. Things were not aligning. And one day I watched him. I don't remember whether it was he spoke during his show or at another forum. For about 30 minutes, he broke down his life journey from coming from upcountry to Nairobi and trying to chase opportunities and hunger. And I think at some point he would even go and sleep under a tree somewhere, waiting because someone has promised you we can meet at 2, so you need to show up early, then they are not available and that sort of thing. I don't have the exact details. And then when that door opened and he got his show, his comedy show, and it just exploded. It was what everyone was watching. And I thought to myself, you mean if this man struggled so much and made it, our struggles are not in vain? So the first assumption I would say is the people you admire, your role models. If you admire Eugene Okanda today and you look at this poster, it looks so nice. This looks like a man who has made it. You don't know his backstory. You don't know whether yesterday he wasn't even sure whether today would work or not. So assumption one is whoever you are looking at as your role model, it is just because they look like they've made it, it doesn't mean that they had life figured out from the beginning. And for me, you know what that did? Ikapunguza pressure. It told me, okay, so I also have a chance. I can also do something. Even if things haven't quite worked as I had initially hoped, maybe, just maybe, God still has a plan for me. The second thing is, I always thought that becoming your best, bold self, your successful self, is a destination. You know, there's a saying that nimefika, tumefika, yani nikifika nitafanya hivi. I always thought that that was something, that success is a destination. The older I grow, and they say with age comes wisdom, you realize that success is a journey. It's a moving target. And so do not lie to yourself that you'll ever reach somewhere where you'll say, I've now arrived. There are many people who we look up to, who we think have arrived, but when you sit down with them and talk to them, you realize they are still chasing. They are still on a journey. That was the second assumption that I had. The third assumption that I had is that, and I remember when I was in high school, we used to talk with my boys, when we do this, when we do that the path to true purpose is straightforward. I think we were taught in school, soma kwa bidii, follow this path, and you'll make it. How many of you believed that? That all you needed to do was just get your A, and you were sorted for life. I remember I did. I thought just that once you finish school, you get a good job, you get a promotion, you become a manager, then you become a manager's manager and that sort of thing. The path to success, the path to your purpose, in many instances, will not be straightforward. In fact, I like a diagram that I have seen many times on social media, that we assume success, and again, this is being young and bold, but I'm just using success as one word to capture it, that it's a straightforward path. But I have seen a diagram of ups and downs, ups and downs. But the beauty is, if your ups and downs are incremental, that even if you go down, you still go up a little higher. Then if you go down again, you still go up a little higher. You're still growing. What people are not seeing are the downs. They only see you when you're up, because when you're up, we celebrate you. We have a conference, we clap for you, but they don't know that for the last 6 months, you may have been down. Maybe things were not working. Or for the next 6 months, there's another challenge as well. And I've had a chance to speak. Over the last couple of months, I've been in many men's forums. And I've had a chance to speak to men who tell me, man, 5-6 years ago, things were working for me. And then 2 years ago, things have been challenging. But I'm coming out of it. And one man told me it was actually a lesson that their father told them. That in every man's life, and let's say every person's life, you will go through certain phases where you'll have dips. It doesn't mean you're not young and bold. It doesn't mean you're not on the path to your purpose, but it is a part of the journey that is life, and it is how God ordained it, I believe. The fourth assumption is this word called bold. I used to think being bold meant being arrogant. That's not true. In fact, I looked for a definition of being bold, and I know other speakers will come. Our host today will come and tell us what it means to be bold from his perspective. I read somewhere that it's a faith-fueled courage to act despite fear. A faith-fueled courage to act despite fear. One of the things I pledged 2-3 years ago was that when you make your New Year's resolutions, we all make resolutions, it's become a sort of a pattern. I said that, and I've not been very faithful at it, but I'm still trying to push at it, that I'll come up with fear goals. What are fear goals? What are things that in your life you are terrified of and you don't think you are able to do? For some of you, it could be public speaking. You have pledged that you'll never find yourself on a stage like this unless they force you to. What if in 2025 you pledge that before this year ends, I must go on a stage like this and say something? Some fear goals for others are different things. For some of you, it's seeking for a promotion. You fear, you are so terrified of it. I decided that at the start of the year, I'll be asking myself, what is 1 or 2 things that scare me, that I think that I am inadequate for, positions I don't think I deserve to be in. And I will imagine and envision that in 2025, or it's 2026, that I will pursue those things despite and in spite of my fear. Fear goals. And I remember, when we talk about boldness, it's not arrogance. And I remember a few months back, I attended a conference. And one of the speakers spoke about how God has raised them to leadership positions. And they were taught that to be a leader, you must be mean, you must be unkind, you must be tough to prove that you are a good leader. And they said that God showed them that they can lead in grace, in kindness, and they have found promotion in that way. That was profound for me. Because you're told that to be a boss in this city, you must show people the way. But this leader comes and tells me, listen, I have led in grace, I have led in kindness, and I have still found promotion. So sometimes the things you're told out there are not true. And from that day when I had that message, I said, should God give me opportunity to lead, even if it's one person, may I lead with kindness, may I lead with fairness. So being bold does not mean being arrogant. Being bold does not mean locking others out. No, being bold is more of an internal job where you say there are certain things that I have been told I cannot accomplish. There are certain things that I've been told my family never does this. There are certain things that I've been told in this community, in this city, in this town, we don't do this. You close your eyes to them, you add faith, and you act with courage. That for me is boldness. What are another 4 more points that I have for you in this young and bold life? Lessons that I have learned that I would tell a 20-year-old self. I used to assume that delay equals denial. How many of you are waiting on things? There are things you waited for 5 years, 6 years, 2 years. How many of you think those things are now completely out of your grasp? I know you won't raise your hands, but some of you believe that. There are many things that I thought would never happen to me. Because the mind has an interesting way of, maybe it's how the mind heals. When you try something and it doesn't quite work, the mind has a way of telling you that this thing wasn't meant for you. I have found, and God works in interesting ways. And for me, my journey has been a faith journey. I have found that in many instances, years later on or months later on, God brings that thing back, but he does it his own way, showing me that delay is not denial. And I want to challenge some of you today. There are certain things that I've delayed for a long time. Don't give up. I have seen people who I admire because many years later on in their life, they go and pursue dreams that you imagine by that age, you should have forgotten about that thing. I read somewhere of someone who graduated with a PhD at 58. Is 58 an old age? Do you guys think? You guys think? Maybe some might consider it young. 58, PhD. What are you waiting for? You're in your 40s, you think, oh, now this is too much. I have a relative who I think went and did law in their 50s. I have a friend now, he's in his 50s. He's pursuing his PhD. He's started a new venture. And I'm telling myself, there is no age limit in this thing. It is you to decide. In 2025, I'm doing this. In 2026, whether you think it is early or late. In fact, let me put it this way. You're not too young, neither are you too old. For whatever it is God has put in your life. And the funny thing is, even if you don't believe it, if you open your eyes wide enough, people around you are doing those things which you have told yourself you cannot do. Because for me, when I sit and see a friend of mine in their 50s going for their PhD, I ask myself, what is it I've said that I can't do? If that person is going for it at that age, if someone has graduated, if someone has done this, if someone has done that, if someone starts a business in their 50s, you're saying, oh, I've given up now, it's too much. Life has an interesting way of challenging us. And I urge you, as you walk around with your eyes open. For me, I'll be honest with you, as much as I get a lot of strength and motivation from God and internally, God also shows me examples in other people. There are people I have watched, I have observed their lives. Don't just look at people and think and make assumptions. Study people. Pick lessons. Pick lessons. Write them down in case you forget. There's something you might see in someone. In fact, what I would say is, for example, this conference. I told you that there's something Churchill said in either a TV interview 15 years ago that challenged me. I've never forgotten it. Make sure you take notes. You never know. A lesson spoken here today could change your life, if not now, 5-10 years from now. Number 5. Number 6. What is another assumption that I had? Another assumption I had is that setbacks was an indication that God did not hear your prayer or he doesn't care. Sometimes in life you have planned for something. I'll use the example of my brother Eugene. You've planned for a conference like this. People have promised you many things. And then the day, how many are laughing? You guys know these things, eh? I've been there. I've done events. I've done missions, I've done the works. People can promise you things. And then on the day itself, how many of you have been promised? An uncle promised you, come, I bring your CV. I will sort you. Someone promised you this. Someone told you, when you are going for that function, call me. I will come with money. And they did not show up. And when many disappointments happen, we can sometimes believe that we have been abandoned. But I have come to believe now, and again I'm telling you, this was what I would tell my 20-year-old self. Setbacks are not an indication that you have been abandoned. Setbacks are not an indication that you have been left out there, that you cannot recover. Setbacks are not an indication that God doesn't care. In fact, in many ways, I believe he uses those setbacks to shape us, to sharpen us, to teach us. Sometimes I think he wants us to make small mistakes now, so that you don't make them later. When you are running big companies and big organizations, when you're running a 10,000 person conference, God cannot allow Eugene to make the mistakes that he needs to make now, so that he can deal with them now when the spotlight is not as harsh as it will be then. Lesson number 6. Let me go to lesson number 7. When I was younger, I was under the false assumption that everyone will be happy for you and will cheer you on as you chase your purpose. It's not true. There are people who will cheer you on. When you find them, hold on to them. Don't let them go, okay? But not everyone will. So don't be discouraged if you go to your family and you share your dreams and they laugh at you. Don't be discouraged if you go to your friends and you share your dreams and they laugh at you. Don't be discouraged if you speak for the first time on a platform and nobody claps for you and nobody cheers you on. People just don't understand. Purpose is in many ways very individual. I mean, I can narrate to you many times when I tried to share with people what was in my heart and they laughed at me. You know, many years ago I was working in a bank when I had finished campus. And God was still putting it in my heart that there was more that I can do in life. And I believe many of you are here today because you believe there is more that you are called to do than you are doing right now. And God put it in my heart, and through a series of events, I resigned from that job. And for about 6 months, I did not tell people I had resigned from that job because they would not understand how you leave a job. You know what I mean? At a time when many people are looking, and even those days it was the same case. You've voluntarily left. Si ati wamekufukuza, you have left. There was something God had placed in my heart, and I was keen to pursue it. And I made sure I came up with a cover story. When people ask me, where are you nowadays? I would be very vague. I didn't want to lie. I just busy hapa too, you know. But so much had happened in my life by that time. If they came to where they used to see me, they would not have found me. And I remember just before I left that job, you know, that time, you know, God was really speaking to me about getting into this field. I one day was, it's very interesting. I was a cashier at that bank. And at the end of the day, any of you who've worked in banking or customer service, you know that you have to reconcile. Count your money, make sure it all adds up before you exit. And one day we were in the process of that, and the TV was on. And I remember there was a news anchor who was speaking. And I had a great passion at that point for the media, and I wasn't sure how to go about it. But out of nowhere, I just told sometimes you verbalize your dreams. You verbalize your visions. And I told the person next to me, one day I'm going to be on that TV. And the guy looked at me. I think he thought I was tired, dehydrated, delirious, disillusioned, whatever it is. And he said, Wewe, never. Ordinary people don't end up there. And I remember the first time I made a debut on TV, I called him. No, I did not call him. He watched. And a few days later, he texted me and he said, Kumbe ulikuwa unajua. I did not know, but there was something in me that was driving me, a God-led purpose. And the funny thing is, maybe I can say this in passing, because I can see Pastor Precious Cole is here. Your pastors are very important. We live in a time, obviously, when a lot of people don't listen to what others have to say, especially regarding the things of God. The first person who challenged me to go into media was a pastor in my church. For some reason, and the thing about purpose is sometimes you don't see your purpose, but another person might. And some of you, someone has told you you could do this very well, you're ignoring them, you don't think you can make it. Have a listen to them. A pastor in my church, I used to be in Sitam Parklands. One day I moderated a session, just was on stage. The way I am on stage today, the way my sister was on stage, or Eugene. And I emceed in my own very haphazard way. And when I was done, I don't know whether the man saw something. He came and told me, my friend, you are going the wrong way. This is the field you need to be on. And I looked at him and I thought to myself, now where do I even begin? I have no training, no nothing. I don't even know where to start. Well, who knows? God is very interesting. The rest, as they say, is history. That one you'll call me to talk about another day. 3 last points because I know the panel needs to get on stage. 3 last assumptions that I had when I was younger that I have completely, dismissed as untrue. Number 7, that your character is not a big deal. That is what I thought. You see, we grew up, a lot of us, in a generation when hip-hop music and, rap culture was big. And I remember one of the biggest songs, I will say it, I know many of you don't know it because you've not listened to that music, so we thank God for you. It was by an artist called 50 Cent, and he had a title called Get Rich or Die Trying. I can see some who are in my generation are in this room. And many young people took that as a lesson, like, do whatever it takes to make it. But you don't realize that the way life works is your character, your skill, your ambition, your hustle can get you somewhere. But your character is what will keep you there. And so there are many people who went and did all manner of things under the hustle, saying, I'd rather get rich at all costs. But when they make it, because they've now made all sorts of mistakes and that sort of thing, they're not able to sustain it. And so for me as a young person then, it was not a big deal. What does it matter? And I remember yesterday watching a movie, an old school movie about a bank robbery. And the lesson was so profound. Sometimes, you can draw lessons even from movies, from whatever it is, so many different things. It was so profound because the main character in the movie, who's the owner of this bank, was actually trying to cover up for some mistake they made many years ago. And they did all sorts of things. Let's give a hand for our keynote speaker as he joins us here today. Dr. Mutua, karibu sana. Welcome, welcome. Let me allow him to take his seat. And the main character in this movie spent years in good deeds and all sorts of things trying to cover up. Young person out there, whatever you're doing right now, it will count for your future. So keep asking yourself, will this thing be a blessing to my future, or will it be a burden or a hazard? And the problem is nowadays we also live in an era of social media where everything is documented. So whatever you're doing now, if you're posting on social media and if it's things that will get you in trouble later on, be aware that your path to success could face many challenges because of that. I never used to think character was a big deal when I was younger. But the older I grow, the more I look at our society, I realize it is one of the key attributes of staying power for a young and bold achiever. Be careful about the decisions you're making. Even if you're young, even if you think no one is watching, the world we live in right now, everyone is watching. My ninth lesson, I used to believe that achieving your purpose will satisfy you fully. I used to believe that once you make it, you will be, utakuwa umefika. How do I explain? You will desire nothing beyond that. Again, through personal experience and through observing others, I have realized that I think there's a mechanism God put in us that on this side of the earth, we will never fully be satisfied. And I think it's a good mechanism because in two ways it challenges us. One, you are never standing still. That you never get to somewhere you say, I've done enough. If you've released 4 books like my brother Eugene, I know he'll wake up next week and think, what is my 5th book? And some might ask him, are you not satisfied? Well, that's how God created us, that when you achieve this one thing, it is like you are satisfied for 24 to 48 hours, maybe even a week at most. But somehow, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, the mind begins asking, okay, so now what next? I believe that's how God put us or created us, so that one, we don't stay still as human beings, we keep moving. But second of all, so that we can desire for more than the things of this earth. So that we can ask ourselves, what is there beyond this? Because if things satisfied us, then we would just stay there and we would not desire for the greater things. I know we are not in church, so I will not go beyond that. The 10th lesson as I finish is, I always thought that there will be time. And I began by telling you that. When I was young, I believed that there's time. Whatever dreams I have, there's always time. But age has taught me that there is not always time. Now, I'm not saying this to put you under pressure, that you then go home depressed thinking, oh my gosh, my time is up. No. In fact, I like what somebody said. There was someone, I read this on social media, and I don't know how applicable this is, but it depends on how you look at it. If you've hit 40 and you feel you've not achieved many things in life, rather than saying, I wish I was 20, tell yourself, when I am 60, what will I wish I did when I was 40? Okay? So if you just turned 30 and you feel things have completely slowed down, don't wallow in thinking, I wish I was 20, because you cannot go back to 20. But rather write a plan for 50 and say, and I thought that was profound. And tell yourself, when I am 50, I want to celebrate 30. And the thing is, it works for everyone. In fact, I saw someone saying, I'm 60 now and I'm planning for 80. I'm not regretting that I wish I did something when I was 40. No. I'm telling myself, I want to celebrate 80 because I made good decisions at 60. But time is interesting. God gave us all the same time in many ways, in that, of course, resources also determines time. Some people, for the more resources you have, the more you're able to do things faster. But in many ways, we all wake up, we all have the same 24 hours. In many ways, we all decide what we do with our hours. And so watch the clock. Sometimes it's important to ask yourself, 5, 10 years from now, it's important to plan. I told you last year I turned 40. And it was interesting, and I'm grateful. I then attended the birthday party of someone who turned 50. And they were saying in the party, I was 40 the other day. I said, what does that mean? What does that even mean? So you mean even you're surprised you're 50. So time is an interesting thing. It's the thing God gave us. And may God help each of you to know how to be aware of the time that you are in, take advantage of the opportunities that you have, not put yourself under too much pressure. In this social media world, I know we don't need to give you more pressure. You open your timeline every day, you see pressure. Especially on this TikTok. You see the cars people are flaunting, you see everything, you can even get depressed. Not that kind of pressure. Pressure to meet the goals that you were created to achieve is the pressure I'm talking about. Finally, trust God to put markers in your heart as a bold and young person. To put markers in your heart and to bring people your way. And I think the previous speaker also spoke of that. I don't stand here alone. I stand here helped by many people. People older than me and people like Eugene younger than me who have challenged me with the things they are doing. You know me, I'm still writing my book. I started writing my book when I was turning 30. I have 3 chapters. But I felt the content was not deep enough. So I said, let me live life a bit longer and then I will finish it. As I was thinking and waiting, Eugene said, you want to be, wait, let me start. And today he calls me and tells me, I have a 4th book. I said, Eugene, when did you even write it? Huh? Trust God to, so I need to stay close to Eugene. He's challenging me. Trust God to put markers and to put people on your journey that will help you, that will show you the way. Because no man is an island. No man is an island. What has been holding you back because of fear? That is the challenge I want to leave you with today. Let this conference count for something. That you came here today, you had achieved 1, 2, 3, 4, but you made a decision here today and you acted on it. You've been scared, you've been terrified, you've been told certain things, you've been told you can't make it. And the challenge I want to leave you with is, what has been holding you back because of fear? It's time to step forward. I believe in many ways when Eugene wrote his first book, he probably asked himself many questions. What will they say about me? Am I worthy? Do I deserve to be an author? And I look at the journey this young man has walked. And I have seen some young men in this country and young women who are doing some fantastic things. And I tell myself, Wahiga, you have no excuse. Look around at what young people are doing and tell yourself you need to be the best version of yourself. I see our keynote speaker is here. I see other guests are here. I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for your time. And I wish you all the best in this journey as God leads you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Wahiga Moira. Before he settles, we just want to get 1 or 2 reflections. If there's 1 or 2 questions from the audience that we can just be able to take, and then we can be able to carry on to the next part of our session. Do we have anyone who has a burning question for him on his testimony or a comment? Yes, we have one there. And then another person, and then another one here. So we'll take those 2, and then he'll be able to answer together. Thank you. Karibu.
Thank you.
You can tell us your name as well.
Okay, my name is Kezi Mugendi. And actually, I follow Wahiga. And I saw him on Facebook. Alipost jana usiku. So I was like, I have to show up. Because, 1, I follow him secretly. Not because of anything. Even Joyce, I admire them. And they are my role models at some point in life. So my question is, what is that secret behind the brand Wahiga Mwaura? And to add to that, I started watching Wahiga when he was in Citizen TV, very young. And I used to watch media.
I'm not young anymore.
Yeah, I used to watch the news. When he would come, I would stop everything just to watch. And I thank God. So, I feel challenged, and I feel challenged because of the kind of lifestyle you live. And to me, and Joyce, you are a role model to me. So that is my question. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's get the second question, then we can, there's one this side, then he can answer both at the same time. In the meantime, our host team, please let's be setting up the seats for the panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Lamek Rugut. I want to thank the two speakers for all they've shared with us. So you even wonder what the other speaker is going to talk because they've almost said everything. So this world is, knowledge is diverse, because Mwaiga has almost spoken of everything. So a question only to Mwaiga, because you've talked of purpose, and you were initially in the bank sector, then you moved to the media. Now you had a purpose initially to work with the bank, or maybe dreams in the bank, and then there was a sharp shift to the other side. So what do you do with the purpose now? Because at times you're in another field, you go to another field. So what will you align, how will you do now with the other purpose you initially had? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Wahiga.
Thank you. Let me start with your question. Life is not static or stagnant. You'll be amazed that many of the people you admire, and I also realize many of the businesses we admire, have gone through different journeys. Some of the biggest businesses we know now were not doing what they do now 50 years ago. Phone companies, some of them were selling fridges. Some of them were selling furniture. But they diversified and moved as they went along. And so are you as a human being. What did I do with my purpose? I believe that when I was in the bank, I was supposed to be there. There were lessons there for me. There was growth. There were people I was supposed to meet. But when it was time to move, it would have been wrong for me to stay because my purpose demanded that I then move on to the next thing. Now, some of you might also be multi-gifted, where you have multiple gifts at the same time. And I think the best person to speak on that, I would say, is my wife, because my wife is multi-gifted. And I have watched her try, balance the different giftings that she has, from media to corporate to, the women's movement that she runs, all at the same time. And so I think it's up to you to decide. For me, I decided that that part of my life was over, and I wanted to fully immerse myself in this other part. But for you, it might be that you are very good at three things. You might be a star footballer, but also a good accountant. Can you find a way to balance both of those? Because you don't know which one will take you to that top 40 under 40, or that big vision that you've been hoping for as well. But it's not easy. It is difficult. It requires many tough decisions. You need good friends. You need good mentors. You need to be a slow thinker, in that you need to take time to think of the cost of staying versus the cost of leaving. For me, I was able to leave what I was doing then because I was still at home. There were many factors that made it possible. Some of you might be wanting to leap into something new, but the math doesn't make sense. And you need to, I don't want you to wake up tomorrow and say, I've quit. No, take time. Sit and think. Life is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So for some of you, what you need to come out of this conference with is a game plan, where you say, for the next 2025, I'm finishing this as I plan for that. Others, it's to move immediately. Each of us has a different journey. And that's the one thing I also learned about life. You can listen to many motivational speakers and many speakers and many great men and women. But the journey ultimately ni wewe na Mungu. So it is you to sit with him and then decide. I've listened to Dr. Mutua. I've listened to Eugene. They are telling me jump. But what do you say, God? Is it now? Is it next month? Is it next year? May he guide you. So all the best as you handle your various purposes. And you can multitask with all of them, but sometimes you have to sacrifice one to achieve the other. And for my sister there, you've really blessed my heart. Thank you so much for those kind words that you've spoken. 3 secrets I can say. For me, it's been a God-led journey through and through. I cannot take any credit for it at all. His leading, his guidance. I told you how I got a pastor who challenged me many years ago to get into media. And one day I decided to take it up by the grace of God. And whenever I meet that man, I tell him, I don't know what you saw or what you knew, because my path would have been very different right now. But three other things I can say is that find good people to keep you accountable. I'm part of 2 men's networks, and they really help me. One, I'm with Eugene and many others, but I'm in a smaller one with Pastor Wafula there at the back. And these are people who sit and ask me tough questions, and I'm able to open up to them. Find people who can challenge you, who can motivate you, but you can also keep you accountable. That's very important. Read a lot, study people, and understand, life has many lessons for us. And some of those lessons will help you at a time of decision making. So if you can attend forums like this, it's also very, very important. But the last thing I would say is understand that whereas there are things that can happen overnight, and I'm not complaining, if overnight success can come, thank God for it. But many good things, just like a good cake, well-baked. I've heard that a well-done steak can be marinated for many hours. That's the kind of success you want. Not popcorn. Pops, 5-10 minutes, it's gone. Tastes nothing to talk about. But there are steaks that go for thousands of dollars. They are marinated overnight, 2-3 nights, maybe even a week before they are put in that stove pole pole. And by the time the chef pulls out that knife and slices it, it was worth it. If that's how you want your life to be patient. God will make a way eventually. Thank you so much, all of you.
Amen. Thank you so much, sir. God bless you. Thank you so much, sir. Please help me once again, ladies and gentlemen, to appreciate our speaker, Mr. Waihiga Mwaura. God bless you, sir. Thank you so much. Are you being blessed? Tell your neighbor that this is just the beginning. We are just getting into now, another section where we're going to just really hear more of what God has for us today. Are we being challenged to be young and bold today? Personally, I'm being challenged. Young people are doing great things, and so can you. Amen. We are honored to have our pastor here, Pastor Precious Cole. Thank you so much, Pasi, for coming. Thank you. We're also honored to have Dr. Ezekiel here in the house. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. Karibu sana. Now, just jumping straight into the next part of our session, it's going to be more of a panel discussion. And, while we were trying to plan for this session, we had no idea really that what is going to really happen. How are people going to respond? Or what is going to take place during this session? But really, we are amazed at what God has done so far. And more so, what he's going to do as well. Planning this session, we had very many meetings. And part of the team, that really just came through and just helped us to make sure that this session is a success is our very own Pastor Okanda. And he really spearheaded this, and we've had very many conversations on this. Well, I'd like to just speak about him for a minute, for about 15 seconds, and then introduce him as well for the next session. Well, Pastor Eugene Okanda, he is an author, and we're going to even know more about some of the books that he has authored today. He is a leadership and public speaking coach. Not only that, he's a student pastor at Sitam Kangundo Road. And so do we have anyone from Sitam Kangundo Road in the house? Anyone from Sitam Kangundo Road? I'm looking. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. We have a witness. Thank you so much. Now, to invite him, who has really helped us and gathered us here today, launching his 4th book called Young and Bold. And I have a copy here. Ladies and gentlemen, please be up on your feet as we welcome Pastor Eugene Okanda. Karibu sana, sir. Thank you so much. Karibu sana. Yes, please, you may have your seats. And now to just help us moderate this session is Maureen Gary. Please help me put your hands together for Maureen as she helps us to moderate even this session. Thank you so much.
Hi. Habari yenu? Mkoaje? Who is happy to be here? Pasi, are you happy to be here? I am also happy to be here. And I am so excited to be seated with you.
Me too.
And to be seated with all of you as we talk, okay?
Yes.
So this will be such an engaging conversation. Tunataka tu kukujua Pasi. Na tunataka kujua the great work you're doing. First and foremost, see, he's doing a good job. Let's us put our hands together for him.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We are so honored to have you.
Thank you.
And I am so honored to have this conversation with you.
Yeah.
And young and bold. What does that mean to you?
First of all, allow me to just give a round of appreciation to each one of you who is seated here. Thank you so much for honoring us with your presence. We really, really want to appreciate you so much. So you can put your hands together and appreciate yourselves. I also want to thank my guest speakers who have really honored us with your presence. Dr. Ezekiel Mtua, my very long-term friend. We also met when I was a student in KU. And Mr. Wahiga Mwaura, quite a length of our interactions. And Ms. Mudhoni, I mean, it's been crazy. We just met and she invited me to speak in a conference. And then we connected. And thank you so much for honoring me with your presence as well. And to you all, you're bold and young, but you're young also and bold. And this is the reason why we thought to have this conversation. So what does bold mean to me? It means a lot of things. First of all, when God laid the burden of writing this book in my heart, possibly if we'll share part of it in the course of this conversation, God asked me a question. Some time ago, like 3-4 years ago, actually 4 years ago, when I was just exiting university, what is that thing that you're going to do for your generation? And how are you planning to leave it for your generation? And that's how I started writing.
Oh, okay.
Let me tell you, for heaven's sake, I don't think I should be an author. Like, looking at all factors
Of 4 books.
of 4 books, I don't think that one day I would have said I'm going to write 4 books. Never. Never in my life would I have ever thought that I will be a public speaker. Speaking in platforms, speaking in places, I never thought that would ever happen. So this word bold is actually an abbreviation. It's an acronym of B means brave. We are living in a very harsh society that does not appreciate what being young looks like. And in various spaces and contexts, if you come and you say you're a young person, even in the Kenyan political landscape, youth are now used as tokens to get into spaces. And that's one of the things I've actually decoded in the various past number of years. And I ask myself, how can we challenge young people to be brave? And then O means you need to be optimistic. If you literally look at where you've come from and where God is taking you, sometimes you can be shocked. But you need to be so optimistic enough that God has your life figured out. Every day I wake up and tell myself, God has my life figured out. It may not look like it has been figured out in my lenses, but in God's lenses, it is already figured out. So I have to stay optimistic. I have to push through the boulders of life and tell myself, it is well with my soul. Yet, possibly things are not turning out well, but it is well, and therefore I stay optimistic. And you look at L, it means you're limitless. That if you look at the investment God has injected in you as a young person, one of the things I challenge myself, one day if the Lord can just step into your room and unveil the curtain of your life, the curtain of your future, and show you the things that are before you, some of you will wake up and live again. Because we tend to live in this cocoon that you've built, and we tend to be victim of circumstances, and therefore we end up bottlenecking our potential. But when you think of it from a God perspective, you realize that there's so much that God has invested in you. And when you look at the word D, is determined. Now listen to me, folks. Life will always appreciate people who are determined. One of the principles of determination is staying consistent. Consistency is spiritual. Anything that affects your consistency, it affects the outcome of your life. When your consistency has been tampered with, you realize that you become intermittent.
in everything in your life. If you're not consistent in your prayer life, you're not consistent in your leadership, if you're not consistent in the way you showcase yourself, there's going to be a problem with the major outcome, because legacy is a conglomerate of consistent steps. If today you start dropping, if you do droplets of water on a rock, and you do droplets in a systematic manner, you realize that the rock will break. The last drop will seem to have broken the rock. But if you look at it keenly, it is the conglomerate of the droplets that have actually broken the rock. And you realize that your life is an outcome of the small steps you live in. And therefore, for me, that's what bold looks like.
Hey, makofi. Nikisema young, mnasema bold. Young? Young? Pastor Okanda, you were not born this wise. It has taken time to get here.
Yeah.
Can you tell us the first time where boldness was the only option on the table for you?
That question really feels like, what can I say, a boulder in my shoulder. Every time I'm asked that question in interviews and in places where I speak, I normally ask myself, wow, so you take me back when I was young. I grew up in a broken home. I was raised up in a gender-based violent home. My mom remarried with my pregnancy, so I was born in a home that I thought this was my dad. But at the age of understanding and conceptualizing things, I realized that was not my dad. And I experienced what gender-based violence is. We used to be chased outside the house with my stepfather and sleep. I remember there's a time I slept on a tree like a monkey for the entire night. I don't know how I didn't fall. Just for the records, I didn't fall, but I slept until morning on a tree. And I remember when I was a teenager, my stepfather woke up one morning, and when they were in wrangles with my mom, he took a panga and he hacked my mom on the head, on the left hand, and on the right foot, on the left foot. And my mom's body was down on the floor, bleeding so profusely. I thought she was dead. My younger brother was still breastfeeding when these events happened. I remember crying on top of my mom's bloody body and asking God, why now? Because I thought she's dead. Good neighbors rushed my mom to the hospital, hospitalized for 8 months. And I remained home as the elder son. And that is the time I started understanding what actually young and bold looks like. In hindsight, it's now making more sense to me. It never made sense then. I remember I used to change my younger brother's nappies. I used to take care of them because no one could. And it was a very chaotic home. Just to cut the long story short, because I've written about this story in my first publication, titled The Pressure of Being Gifted. It was my very first book. We have some copies here for those who would also love to take one. To cut the long story short, I grew up with a broken self-esteem. I hated myself. I did my first KCPE and I got 199 marks. Sikufikisha hata Ruabe. And I was on call with my mom. My mom recuperated after 8 months and she went to stay with the relative. She never came back. So one day I was on call with her after the results came, and she told me, after I told her everything, she told me, I want you to go back to school. But if you cannot study for yourself, go and study for me. Those words carried me literally. I went back to class 7 and I picked myself up again. I did my second KCP and I got 284 marks.
A win is a win.
Mwezi niangalia hivyo. So I got 284 marks. 1 month later, when other Form 1s had already reported to school, I go to my stepfather, ask him, Dad, are you not taking me to school? He looked at me ferociously and he told me, I'm not taking you to school. Who will take care of your siblings? Those words axed my soul. I took a rope and I wanted to commit suicide at the back of our own house. Went to the house, tied the rope. I was fed up. Tied the rope and it was raining. And I was profusely in tears. When I was almost releasing myself from the rope, I had someone calling me. It was actually my cousin. Guys, I'm not making up a story. These are true
It's
evidence.
giving movie.
Yeah. And it's actually my cousin who called me, Steve. And the voice, literally, I am a product of God's grace. The reason why I preach so hard, the reason why I live every day courageously, no matter the circumstances that attack my soul, is because I know where God collected me. And by God's grace, I didn't commit suicide because the voice kept coming closer. What happened is that it sounded to me like I came back to, it looked like I was dreaming. So when I came back to my senses, I asked myself, what was I just about to do? And of course, to cut the long story short, I went with him. My grandparents had actually called me. And I normally tell this to any person battling suicide. There is always someone waiting. If you can just wait a little bit longer, there's someone who is coming to your rescue. And it was actually my grandparents. They took the initiative of taking me to school. And I joined high school. Long story short, I didn't go to the high school that I wanted to go. We started a high school in our village. We were 7 Form 1s. I remember when I was taken to the school, the principal then was introducing every student in that class with their names and the village they come from. This is so-and-so, he comes from that village. And for me, the story of boldness is how I was able to carry myself through high school. I gave my life to Christ. One of the most important decisions, and I've talked about it in the book, is I met with the Lord. My crisis led me to the cross. And I was at the cross of Jesus one of these evenings, and I told the Lord, unless you lead this life, it is meaningless. I finished high school in that village school, and I got a B+.
Wait.
The rest, as they say, is history. But most importantly, I met with my biological father when I was 21 years old. 9 years of rebuilding a relationship with him. He's my best friend and one of the person that we spend a lot of time together. And when you look at that story, for me, it's a story of boldness. There is nowhere, and I know in this room, seated in this room, we have people who have been brought up in very pathetic homes. And sorry to say, some of them have defined their value based on where they came from.
Yeah.
And therefore, their vision is blurry. Then there's no sense of confidence. When they meet opportunities, they discount themselves. And they say, I'm not worthy. But I've come to remind you today, if you can be young and bold, the Lord can use you in mighty and great ways that you have never imagined. When I was flying out of the country to go as the Kenya United Nations representative to the United Nations in New York, I was on a plane. I was in a KQ plane, and it was a 14-hour trip, 15-hour trip. I used a direct flight from JKA to Jeff Kennedy. And I was seated in the plane, and I was asking God, why me? And God told me, but I chose you.
Why not you?
Why not you? But it came out so clearly from the book of Ephesians that he chose me before the foundations of the earth. Therefore, let me go. And let me go to US. And I went to US, and God has helped me to do great things, maybe not mighty, but great things that my life has continued to impact my generation. And that's why I thought it was necessary for young people to making sure that they read this book. Because most importantly, if you don't stay bold, the world is so harsh, and no one pays attention to people who are weak and fearful, and people who don't have a sense of direction.
Oh, beautiful. Young? Awesome. Pasi, kuna time, here's my Kiswahili coming out. Is there a time in your story giving up on God felt like, I have seen enough in this journey, and wacha kidogo God akae kando tufanye, let us work my style now? Has it gotten to that point?
Very many times. I have organized conferences, even with no money. I've been in places where God, I feel strongly. Let me tell you, friends, when you're walking in the purpose of God, it's like fire in your bones. It's like fire in your bones, and if you don't act, you feel like something will just carry you and push you, you know. And I've gotten myself in quite a number of those spaces. But I remember one time when I was in the university, I joined campus, and this is so interesting. I joined campus KU. In KU, there are many groups, but I remember when we joined campus, there was a freshers' night. Very big party, and Will Pose was, sorry for saying the name on live, but that artist was invited to.
That one.
He was one of the artists then. And that evening, I felt like, God, I've had a lot of trouble in the village. Now I'm in town. Like, it's my time now just to have fun and do the things that people, mchezo wa town. Huh?
Allah.
And I went for the bash. And three of my friends came with girlfriends. So they came with 2 girlfriends. And they came with 3 girlfriends. These were 3 gentlemen. And they came with 2 girlfriends. And one of the girls did not have a partner. So it was clear that tumekupanga. And I felt it was nice. I felt it was nice. So I'm in this party and the music is booming and all that. And I felt like, God, let me try this out. I've been struggling in the village. Let me just try this out. Let me tell you, that evening we started having a conversation there. And I felt like this is not the space I should be. So I left. And when I was leaving, I walked, those people who are from KU, they understand where the topography of the university.
Yes.
So I get to this hall and I find thousands of young people singing for the Lord. And I ask myself, why are there so many people here, but there's also another so many people there? Wondering what is happening. So I joined this group of people. And my life actually started to experience transformation there. I will tell you, my life in campus was not easy. And I want to publicly appreciate, I don't know if Pastor Precious is here. I think he has walked out. Pastor Precious has been an anchor in my life. I met Pastor Precious when I was in the university. And he literally held my hand.
Don't go to post picture.
Because the thing is this, Maureen, when you're used to failure, when you're used to poverty, it sounds like a rhythm. And when you want to come out of it, it looks uncomfortable. But you need people who can give you glimpses of how your future looks like. And they light up your life. And until you feel like there is some metamorphosis happening. Metamorphosis is the total transformation of a caterpillar to a butterfly.
Yes.
And that's exactly what happened in my life. But in campus, I'm grateful for Pastor Precious Cole and quite a number of amazing young other people who held my hand. But also I had to sort some healing. And I think there's something we'll talk about that later on.
Yes.
But I had people who literally held me. But for moments, I wish I quit. Even today in the morning, I called my fiancée and I was telling her, I don't feel like I'm ready to do this conference. But she told me, I'm praying for you. Go do the conference. You've already invited people. Please go. And that's why we are here. Yeah.
Mmesikia fiancé. Tumpigieni makofi. That is so profound. I think all the speakers that have stood and sat here, they've all mentioned on the people we surround ourselves with. And I think if there's anything I will leave this conference with, is that thing. The fact that wote wamesema, the people you surround yourself with, they have an impact on your life. Now let's get to Okanda, akigrogro kidogo. What is that one bold thing you can say, Okanda, you did, and it transformed your life greatly?
Truth be told, and this is not cliche. This is not. There are 3 things that I've done in my life, and number 1, ni God. But number 2, which has also really, really had an impact in my life, ni God.
Yes,
Number
sir.
3, I think number 3 is the most profound. Ni God.
You are right.
So I'm in the dusty kitchen of our home. I used to sleep in the dusty kitchen of our home, and I can remember vividly. My stepfather used to work in a petrol station, and they used to put on these aprons, and I never used to have like a blanket or something or to cover myself. Poverty is not humble. Like poverty, there's no dignity I hate poverty with my entire self. Because there is no glory in poverty. You understand? So I'm in that dusty kitchen, and I remember one day I knelt down in the kitchen. And I knelt down in such a way that my face was literally on the dusty floor of our kitchen. So I was literally praying with my face on the floor of the kitchen like this. And I told God, if you ever save me from all this, I'm going to serve you for the rest of my life. For the rest of my life. And the Lord led me to one of the teachers used to teach me mathematics in high school. And this gentleman used to speak life over me. And he's the one who actually helped me to know Christ and to live a life that is centered on God. Now, one of the things is that I used to see my mom praying when she was beaten up. So she's beaten up and then she's praying for us. And I think it ignited something in my soul. And I could remember those moments vividly when I was growing up. But now when I'm in high school, that very day I made a commitment to live my life to Jesus. And one of the things that God placed in my heart, and it's been a heavy burden until today, I turned 30 last week on Wednesday. You never go wrong serving the Lord. You never go wrong serving the Lord. And let me tell you, for me, that is one of the boldest decisions I ever did in my life. Number 2, walking in my purpose. I understood the gravity of my purpose when I was in the second year in the university. Purpose is not cute. You know how people say you just need to identify your passion and get your passion right. And then when you get your passion right, you're going to be and you're going to live your purpose. You know? Let me tell you, when you're living your purpose, sometimes passion is not enough. Passion will get you started. Discipline will keep you going. And discipline in prayer, discipline in the word. Every time before I do anything, before I started writing this book, the message that was dropping in this book was like a thunder in my ears. So I could wake up at almost midnight and write thoughts and write lessons. These are 20 lessons. I was write 20. One of the lessons I write, I try to think and ask myself, how does this lesson fit with this and fit with that? Because for me, God comes first. God comes first, and God is the yardstick over which I do every other thing. And walking in my purpose for real, it has costed me everything. Everything. There's a time I thought I've worked for the Ministry of Youth Affairs, and when I was serving the Ministry of Youth Affairs, I actually saw I don't know if I can say it here, but I saw things that really, really stubborned my heart. And that is one of the reasons I really push young people to making sure that if you fail on values, you'll fail on everything else. If there is nothing you're standing for, there is nothing you're going to stand against. Yeah. And for me, being centered in God, being centered in my purpose. And then the other thing is people. And networking and connecting with the right people will give you a sense of direction. There are people who will come in your life and they will give, I think I've mentioned, and they'll give you the glimpses of how your future looks like. And it's one of the lessons I've also mentioned in this book, the power of networks and making sure that you connect with the right people. Because if you have 5 broke friends, you have not counted well. You guys are 6, and you are the chief of that committee.
Yes.
And therefore, we are the outcome of the people we surround ourselves with. Because the experiences of those people rubs on your life. And you don't want a bad experience to rub over your life and naikupatie a bad outcome.
Awesome. Okanda, you mentioned something about your childhood. Let me just go back kidogo too. And you mentioned about healing. Healing is a very bold step. How are you dealing with healing? I don't know if you are fully healed, or you can say there are still some glimpses of healing that are taking place. Tuambie, how is healing?
You see, if you're sick in your house and you're not seeking medication, you will die. And we will bury you. And it's sad. It's sad to say that, but we will bury you. If you know, first of all, you need to identify that you are sick. And then secondly, you need to know where you can get healing. And then thirdly, you need to, either if you do not have strength, have like your 4 friends. That story in the book of Mark. These 4 guys who literally lifted this man, and they took him to the feet of Jesus. So for me, it was in campus. There was this program that was advertised for young men, and we were going through a trauma healing session while in the university for 10 days. And we were like roughly around 23 young men who attended that conference. And then that conference, it was not a conference, it was like a workshop. And it was a workshop where you have to get to understand how you grew up, how your past has continued to shape the kind of the person you are. Because the truth is, if you don't heal from your past, you become someone who is running away from his or her own shadow. And there's no dangerous person as someone who is running from their own shadow. And you have to face it. And that program really helped me to come in real terms with the ghosts that I was running away from. I was born again. I was going to church. But you realize that God has intentionally put institutions and people to be bearers of your pain. And they can help you find healing. Number two, sometimes later, 2023, I did a program by Reverend Simon Bevy, Man Enough. Lord Jesus, that program transformed my life completely. I don't know if there is anyone who has done that program here. I mean, that program transformed my life genuinely. Now, just to conclude on that, I sought healing because I understood if I don't heal, I'm going to bleed on people who did not cause my pain. And you realize that if I could have not healed, I could have never been where I am today. Yeah.
That was profound. You heal yourself so that you don't bleed on other people. Yeah. Who have not caused the pain. Innocent people. Hey.
And it can be even your fiancé, you're in a relationship.
Good point.
Una bleed too.
Acha tuende hapo sasa. Let us go there.
And you realize, actually, one of the things, I'm not a relationships expert, so please don't call me to speak about relationships. But one of the things I've been in courtship with a beautiful girl from Dr. Ezekiel Tua's home. I don't know, maybe that's the reason why I interacted with him. So she's called Dr. Joanne, and we have been in courtship for 2 years. One of the things that relationship has taught me, when I sought my healing, I became a person of impact even in her own life. And then, I also made sure that she's also finding healing because I don't want to be a bearer of a pain that I did not cause. So everybody has to be in the journey of finding their own healing. But number two also, when you have not healed, you will either end up being lazy. You're just lazy. Like you don't push yourself. You don't. Actually, when you see people pushing themselves, you wonder what is wrong. Number two, you can either end up being selfish. And you see when you're battling with some things like selfishness and laziness that cannot be explained, you are just lethargic every now and then. There's a problem because you realize that 10% is what people see. It's the tip of the iceberg. 90% is the things that people don't see. How you wake up in the morning, and you realize that if you don't find healing, even the sense of staying disciplined in life, looking for what is the next thing that I need to do? What are the things that I need to work on? So healing is not just for your emotional well-being. When you have emotional and spiritual well-being, it pours into the other pillars of your life. So if you're struggling with finances, possibly you're also struggling with something else. Because there is no problem that survives by itself. Problem always look for other problems so that it can have company.
Community.
And success and consistent success does not stay by itself. Because healthy habits as well do not stay by themselves. They have to look for company. You understand? So when you heal, everything else stays in alignment.
Awesome. Success and failure looks for company. Now, it's up to us to choose. Do you want to give your success company or your failure company? Amen?
Amen.
Awesome. Let us go back to the conversation you are avoiding. Briefly, you recently engaged our dear darling Dr. Joanne. And I know for this book, it's a conversation in this book.
Yeah.
Marrying, I can't remember how it's perfectly stated.
Yeah. You need to know who to marry.
Yes. Briefly, let's mention a bit on that. You need to know who to marry.
Yeah, it's lesson 17. You need to figure out who you need to marry in your 20s and in your 35. This is my argument. You see, we don't marry people that we are not.
Oh, that's profound.
You don't marry a foreigner. In fact, the reason why there's a problem in our dating and courtship scene is because we are trying to look for someone who you are not. And God honors people who have worked on themselves. And God really, I believe from where I sit, he's so committed to making sure that he is also protecting the hearts of his daughters and sons. He cannot just hand over to you, to someone who is going to mess up with. If really you're going to guard your heart above all other things because it's the fountain of life, then God is so committed to making sure that you grow as an individual. So this is it. When you're figuring out, in fact, when you read that lesson, it is coming from the place of who are you as a person?
Oh, okay.
What are you doing? Because singlehood is not a parking zone.
Yes, sir.
Unangojea mutu.
Unangojea mutu.
If I was doing that, I could have never met Joanne. I met Joanne literally when I was doing the things that I'm doing. And I was mesmerized by this chick. I was just like, come on. This looks like someone we can build something together. You don't want to marry someone who is lazy and someone who does not understand where they're going. You don't have that time. You don't have the time to start helping them. Because courtship is not a discipleship program.
Hey. Where?
Coaching. In fact, if you are in a relationship because you are helping this person to know God so that you can marry them, God is so jealousy. God will save them and give them to someone else. Because God is not in that business of saving people for you. You have to be in the vineyard. You have to be doing something with your hands. And when you're doing that, you're able to meet with the people that are also moving in that same direction. I cannot be going to Thika, and then I meet with someone who is going to Western. And then we think we are going to have company. It's going to be divergent. And that's why things don't work. The other thing is this. Friendships are powerful. Now, this is the problem. Men, some ladies will come to your life looking for a shoulder to lean on, but not a heart to fall in love with.
Where? Kona notebook.
So this is the catch. You realize that when you are building values-driven friendships, you are able to know who in this company can be my wife. And you can only know that from the place of self-awareness, acute self-awareness, and the other person, they're also acutely aware of themselves. Nowadays, people come and say, I dreamt I was doing a wedding with you. Man, God has not shown me. It could have been tragedy if the angel could have appeared to Mary and not appeared to Joseph.
Yeah.
God had to make a commitment, the same message, to be told to Joseph. So what I'm saying in that lesson is, can we build values-driven friendship? Our friendships are too transactional. If I don't get something out of you, I cannot. And you realize that where you are seated, there are people seated next to you, they don't look like what you're looking for. But 5 years from now, those people are going to transform and they will deny you an appointment. Because you are never keen to observe and ask yourself, God, what do I do with this friendship, with this friendship that we are actually building? So men, sometimes ladies will come to your life looking for a shoulder to lean on, not a heart to fall in love with quickly. But also, you have to understand that when you're building these friendships, you have to be very acutely aware, where is this person going? And that's why we encourage young professionals to come for fellowship. How are you expecting to get a wife when you are not coming for fellowship? You're not coming to places where you can meet people who are heading to the same direction.
Unasikia?
You understand? And then making a commitment to serving the purposes of God in your singlehood. That will change the trajectory of your life, and it will help you figure out who you need to marry.
Hey, makofi. Shangwe. Vigelegele. Anyway, thank you so much, Percy. As we come to an end of this conversation, briefly, I want us to just briefly, topics or a topic you'd love to expound on. Utupe the hunger, you know? We want the hunger. We need to buy this book. Sindio? Nani anatoka hapa bila copy? Kuna mtu ameinua mkono. Whoa. Pasi atakuona kando. Anyway, yes, sir.
All right, so let me read something that is it was so deeply embedded in my heart when I was writing this book. And I like just to read to all of us as my message to you all. This is it. Dear Young and Bold, this is not just another self-help book. This is a mirror, a mentor, and a movement. The world we live in today doesn't come with a manual. You are expected to figure things out and figure them out very fast. You are told to build a career, find your purpose, stay sane, earn money, avoid mistakes, chase dreams, and still smile for the gram. But no one talks about the silent storms in your mind, the pressure in your chest, or the question that keeps you up at 2 a.m. If you are under 35, life is happening to you and through you. It is beautiful, but it's also brutal. And in between those two extremes is a dangerous gap no one prepares for you. Now, this book is my humble attempt to fill that gap. I have written this book not as a know-it-all, but as a fellow traveler, someone who has wrestled with doubt, fought for identity, battled fear, and risen from failure. These 20 lessons are the very tools I wish someone gave me when I was starting out. They are practical, they are raw, they are real, and they are necessary. Now, this is your season to be young and bold, not reckless, but courageous, not perfect, but intentional. You can't afford to walk blindly anymore. Time is running out, destiny is calling, mistakes are costly, and wisdom, when received early, becomes your greatest advantage. So flip the pages, reflect deeply, apply consistently, share freely. Let's navigate life together with fire in our hearts, faith in our steps, and purpose in our veins. You've got a life to live. Live it well. So this is my message to every young person. And I was just mentioning to our speakers, and I was mentioning to my brother, Mark Kabale, who has made this together with the young professional team and Pastor Precious for making this conference possible. We look forward to making this an annual conference. And we'll just call it Young and Bold Conference, where we gather, we talk about the issues that we go through. And these lessons, I'll just read through them quickly. Lesson number 1, keep your dreamer, thinker, and warrior mindset alive. It will propel you farthest. Lesson number 2, choose your battles wisely. Time is running, stop walking. Lesson number 3, you are a reflection of your friends. Choose them wisely. Lesson number 4, answer God's calling and find your purpose. Lesson number 5, build your knowledge quotient. What you know defines who you are. Lesson number 6, build your skill set. What you can do defines your value. Lesson number 7, learn to network and build your brand. Lesson number 8, build your public speaking and communication skills. Lesson number 9, heal from your childhood trauma. That lesson is hard. Ngoja kwanza mtaiona. Lesson number 10, learn to be resilient. Leaders are made on that road. Lesson number 11, learn to take care of your mental well-being. Everything is against it. Lesson number 12, seek mentorship. You have never been on this road before. Lesson number 13, be financially responsible. You don't have to die poor. Lesson number 14, honor God with your wealth. That we are talking about the biblical principle of tithing, because it's very important. Lesson number 15, don't be your greatest enemy. How to get out of your own way and start living boldly. Lesson number 16, embrace an entrepreneurship mindset. That lesson is also very, it's hot. Lesson number 17, find out who you need to marry. Lesson number 18, leverage on technology. Especially learn how to use, learn how AI works and partner with it. In fact, they say AI is not going to take your job. The people who know how to use it will take your job. Mm-hmm. Lesson number 19, master the art of time management. You can't afford to waste it. Lesson number 20, build emotional intelligence. It will take you further than IQ. Thank you very much.
Yo. Are we ready to buy the book? Mark, can we take 2 questions? Awesome. Oh, one question. The first person to shoot their hand up. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sorry, I like talking. Okay, maybe I like asking questions where necessary, so bear with me. Okay, my name is Joel Mabonga. Actually, Pastor Eugene, I'm really impressed with your first introduction. It was so touching. And you have shared with us your storyline at the beginning of your life towards your future. And I've seen that there's a time you mentioned that there's a lot of things that you went through when you are young. And even you thought that your life has ended. But you realize that you have the potential, someone came and rescued from that situation. Now, here is my question. This is the time maybe, or there's people, maybe not at that young age, but this, like let me say that the age that we are in, they are going through the same problem that maybe you went through in that moment. Sometimes maybe they feel like